We're going to have an interesting conversation about two people that you may have heard their names, maybe not, and but it's not so much the people that drove us to this topic; it's really the topic that drove us to this topic. And one of those people is a guy by the name of Chad Ochocinco, who was a great football player for a lot of different teams, Cincinnati Bengals among others, and he's a retired NFL star. And there's another guy named YK Osiris, who's been famous for about 10 minutes and 22 seconds. Like all the other artists, YK is convinced he's going to be famous forever. And it was a little thing about some earrings. And so anyway, before we dive into the topic and kind of figure out how we're going to make this into a topic that we as intelligent Black people can benefit from, I want to introduce my guests. My guests are Miss Keisha Ravenel, CEO and founder of the We Inspire brand. How you doing today, Keisha?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, well, I'm excited to have you. Keisha is a super, super, super smart Black woman, and I'm glad you're here.
Also, supers, Dr. Boyce.
Yeah, that's right. Super duper, 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 super. And another super smart Black person we have is Jeff Lightsey Jr., who is you see him regularly on the Ball Sports Network, and he's just a real sharp Black man. How you doing today, Jeff?
I'm doing good, Dr. Boyce. How are you?
Doing very well, very well. And I want to say hi to everybody in the chat. I see Shannon Stewart is in here. I'm sure Shannon has a lot to say because Shannon is a financial expert out west. And so let's just dive into the topic. Okay, so how many of you, give me a yes or no. You start with a yes or no question. How many of you saw any inkling of the earring controversy with YK Osiris and Chad Ochocinco, where YK, and I'll tell the story. I'll tell my version of what I saw, and then I'll let Jeff and Keisha kind of chime in terms of what they saw. So basically, from what I saw, there's this singer YK Osiris who sings this song called "Worth It," and I watched the video, and it's very good. The video had 107 million views, and it was cool. It wasn't ratchet. It was, baby, yeah, you worth it, whatever. I don't remember what he said, but talking about basically, I'll buy you all kinds of shit because you're worth it, and that's cool. I would sing that song to my wife. I thought that was nice. And anyway, YK Osiris got on the internet and he did a little bit of Instagram flexing, where basically he bought these earrings that were $325,000. Now, I don't know if that includes tax or without tax, but that's $325,000 for the earrings, and he brags about this on Instagram, the Instagram flexing. Well, Chad Ochocinco then does a video where he goes to Claire's, and Claire's is where my daughter. I remember my daughter used to buy like little cheap jewelry at Claire's back in the day when she was like 12. And I'm sure they have stuff for grown-ups too. But he buys some earrings at Claire's and basically says, I get to shine just like you, but I paid $10. So YK Osiris, seemed to take a little bit of offense to it. Now we'll show his response in a minute. But I wanted to jump ladies first, Jeff, if that's okay with you.
Sounds good with me.
Keisha Ravenel, what did I miss anything with that story? I mean, what did you see?
You didn't miss anything except for this one thing. It's this one thing, and it's beside the point of him paying the $325K for the earrings, right? I saw that he owed rapper Lil Baby $5,000. So you owe someone money, but then you're going to spend $325K on earrings. So like, we have to get our priorities straight here. So is it that the Black man you can't pay, and that's assuming that the jeweler is not a Black man, right?
We know he's not. Exactly. We know he's not.
But you can go give someone outside of our community $325K, but you can't pay the Black man. So that's the thing that really, really stuck out for me. Like, wait, why can't you give him his money?
Okay, that's a valid point. I did see that they did a video together, and Lil Baby, because I get the Lils and the babies.
It's a lot of babies.
Little baby, little this, little that. Yeah. So I see Lil Uzi Vert, I see Lil Baby,
Lil Baby.
Yeah, so the next.
And you got Sada Baby and Birdman Baby. It's a lot out here. That's in the rap game.
A lot of babies.
I ain't wanted to be a baby. I ain't been wanting to be a baby since I was in diapers. So I don't really understand that.
Yeah, it's very interesting because they want to be grown men, but they refer to themselves as babies and littles. But hey, that's none of my business.
Makes no sense. So Jeff, tell us, did you see anything in terms of when you were watching this kind of go down, how did you feel? I mean, did you feel that, that maybe Chad kind of went overstepped a little bit, giving a man unsolicited advice, if you want to call it that,
Mm.
on how to spend his money?
Well, I think in this conversation, the reason why it's even a thing is because I think you have to know the players, right? As far as Chad Johnson or Chad Ochocinco, he is a serial cheapskate, right? Like, so he's a millionaire, he's a really rich man, but he's a serial cheapskate. And then you got this guy Osiris, YK Osiris, who's a rapper, and we know with rappers, they are serial, flexers. They're serial letting you know that they have all this money. So when you have these two commodities coming together, it's like the Clash of the Titans. It's like the worst thing you could have ever seen. If you think of Chad Johnson or Chad Ochocinco, he's so cheap. I don't know if you guys ever watched like Everybody Hates Chris back in the day, the dad. He's kind of like the dad, like in real life. Chad Johnson, his first 2 years in the NFL, instead of getting like an apartment or a house, you're in the NFL. You're becoming a player. He wasn't the Chad Johnson superstar, but he lived at the team facility. He said they have everything here. Why would I go rent an apartment or buy a house? I have food. I have showers. I have, a roof. I have a nice, comfortable couch. He literally lived, and that's been validated by his former coaches, where they finally realized he was staying there overnight. They kicked him out. So this is what type of cheapskate he is. And the Claire's thing isn't anything new. He's been saying on documentaries when they followed the team and all kinds of stuff that he's shopped consistently at Claire's his entire life. He said, I was broke and I had to wear Claire's earrings. I got rich. And he said, I shine just like this. His logic behind it was, and it was very smart, is when you're rich, why do you have to prove that you're rich? NFL players and salaries are public knowledge. Everybody knows contracts. Everybody knows everything, right? So they know about your contracts, know about your endorsement deals. So people know Chad Johnson has money. So why would I go out and flex $350,000 or $325,000 or whatever when you already know I make millions of dollars a year? So the only person I'm trying to improve is other people, but you already know I'm rich. So if I wear these, silicone earrings, it makes no difference because whether they're fake or not, you don't know because you're already assuming because you already know I'm rich. So that's why I think he was coming from that perspective. Osiris, on the other hand, as we know, rappers love to flash their money, flash their wealth, do all these kind of things. And I think if you also know YK Osiris a little better, he is always kind of like the butt of a joke. How we talked about earlier, he owed Lil Baby money. He's known for that. I think Boosie came out and said he owes him some money. He did the crate challenge, and we know how the crate challenge ended for a lot of people. So a lot of those things he's always being kind of joked on. And I think taking this shot, what he considered a shot from Chad Ochocinco, wasn't really what he wanted, because once again, as far as like social media, entertainment, all those kind of things, he's always kind of like the butt of the joke. So that is why when they collided, it ended the way it did.
Interesting. So with YK Osiris, it was really interesting. I did some research on him and just checked out what he's doing. And I saw somebody in the chat said YK Osiris has been doing this for years, and I'm like, he ain't been doing nothing for years. He ain't been breathing for years. Like he's like super young, and he's not even been famous that long. And so I was kind of checking him out and just kind of like seeing what he was up to. And we know the culture, right? And then you see him sort of clashing into Ochocinco, which is kind of an odd sort of pairing. And it seemed to me, Keisha, that when you have people that kind of come up in the music industry, it almost seems like there's pressure to pretend like you have money that you probably ain't got. Like I saw somebody that said this is probably a drop in the bucket for him. I don't believe $325,000 is a drop in the bucket for most artists. I just don't believe that. What do you think?
I don't believe that either. And like you both said, that these rappers, they have something to prove. So, they may have grown up broke and now they want to flex, right? I have the money to buy the earrings and to buy the clothing and the belts and the shoes and the sneakers. Like I have this, and a lot of their worth is determined by what they can buy, right? Like what they can wear, and it's not internal. And that's my issue with the community and with these rappers and athletes. It's like, oh, look at me, look what I could buy. And then we have kids looking up to that. And YK Osiris, he actually mentioned, hey, kids, if there's anybody watching this, I don't advise you to do it. Then why are you doing it if you don't advise anyone else to do it? If that's the advice that you're giving, then, why are you not taking your own advice?
Well, I'll tell you this, Jeff, I watched YK Osiris's video, right? And I was curious to see what his energy was like. When an older guy kind of, basically, does a finger wag at a younger person, it can be taken in different ways. Sometimes they say, okay, I'm going to just respect you because you're older. But then there's some people who just really get upset. And I remember when I was YK Osiris's age, and I remember when Ice Cube and Scarface, like all of us were young, and I remember that they were getting kind of confronted about the dangers of where the music was going. Remember at that time, Ice Cube proudly states, I started this gangster shit, right? And you see what it is 25, 30 years later, right? So while you can take credit for the great things that have happened in hip hop, you also must take responsibility for some of the chaos that has occurred. Like literally 200 rappers died this year, right? The latest being Young Dolph, but I'm sure another one will die this week. Like that's the rate at which rappers are dying. And so I remember that as a young person, I heard the older people speaking. At that time, it was Reverend Calvin Butts. Another one was a lady named C. Dolores Tucker. And I remember, thinking like, F you, like who the hell are you to tell us what to do? Like, I was down with Q back then. I'm friends with him now, but I was back then. It was like what's wrong with you? So what do you think? I mean, do you think that it was just kind of a little bit out of line for Chad to kind of like push up on him like that, and when the guy didn't ask for any of that?
Well, not at all, because Chad, once again, Chad may not even know who YK Osiris is. If you look at how this all went down, one of those blog sites reposted Osiris putting buying the earrings and posting. The only reason why we know how much the earrings cost is because he posted the receipt. It was a $325,000 receipt. So clearly he was flexing. So that is how it came into the range of Chad. Chad saw it on Twitter. He saw the receipt and was like, I mean, he probably didn't even read the name. He just looked at the price and was like, yo, you could have got them same earrings at Claire's, right? Like, and it wasn't even like Osiris, get off my lawn. You're a stupid young dude. Like, it's just like, well, I got those same kind of earrings and I got them for $10 and I'm worth, Chad's worth millions of dollars. That literally was all it was. And YK, his response is kind of what elevated, because he felt so personally attacked. And this isn't just a message for YK, because the reason why he did it is because of what industry he's in. In the rap game or music game, when you're a black artist, you almost feel pressured because the whole stigma behind rap music or being an artist in kind of that sphere to hang with these guys is money, cars, and clothes, right? Money, cars, and clothes, and all those things, and that leads to the women and things like that. So you're given this image. You have to portray yourself a certain way because you're trying to sell records that say these things. And so I can't get on a record and talk about I have all this money and I have all these women and I have all these luxurious things if I ain't out here showing you for the gram, doing it for the gram, doing the same thing. So that is why he probably felt some kind of pressure to put a $325,000 receipt out there. And once again, Chad was just like, that's cute, but I mean, I can do that too. At the same time, I know these earrings, these silicone earrings from Claire's, shine the same way they do when you go to Icebox or the jeweler down the street, and you get them for a whole lot cheaper. So I don't know. I think that was the whole perspective from Chad.
Well, everybody, in case you just got here, we are talking about this interesting back and forth between a singer rapper by the name of YK Osiris and a former NFL star, Chad Ochocinco. YK Osiris buys this $325,000 necklace or pair of earrings, and puts the receipt on Instagram. And Chad Ochocinco then shows himself going into Claire's and spending $10 on a pair of earrings, and says, I can shine just like you. If you haven't done it yet, please hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. Our guests for today are Miss Keisha Ravenel, CEO and founder of the We Inspire brand, and also Jeff Lightsey Jr. from Ball Sports. Follow these two on social media. Please follow these two on social media because these are just very, very smart people, and these are my wonderful friends, and I just think that they're both amazing. So Keisha, let me ask you this question. There was this recent story about China. I don't know if did you see that, where the Chinese government basically issued a rule where the president, I guess, because he gets to sort of just make laws on the fly. He actually issued a rule where he said, and it's on my Instagram if you guys want to read the article, but he basically said that we're banning celebrities from showing off their wealth on social media. Like, he straight up just jumped in there and they just said, stop it. Like, stop that shit. It's stupid. Like, it's not. I think I'm going to read some of the language they use in terms of describing why they banned celebrities from flaunting their wealth on social media. But I think that they just kind of felt like it was irresponsible. That you are misleading people, you're messing up society. So now you contrast that to our society, where that's all you see. That's all you see in our community. Last 25 years, artists showing how much money how I have more money than you, and it's very weird to me that this has almost become like people call this black culture, but I don't even think it's black culture.
It ain't cold. It ain't black culture at all.
Right. So let me ask you this, Keisha. Your brand, one of your slogans on your brand is "I am enough." So I think about "I am enough" when I think about the person that feels the need to show off, because maybe deep down, do you think maybe deep down there's a self-esteem issue, where maybe because you don't feel like you're enough, you have to go buy something expensive and waste some money to prove that you're enough? What do you think about that?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I feel that that's what they're doing. That's what these rappers are doing. That's what the Black people in entertainment are doing. They don't feel that they are enough. And I can't say everyone, right? But overall, they put a lot of their self-worth into these items, into these earrings, into these name brand things. And that's why I created I Am Enough, to let you know, like, you don't have to put your worth into these things. Like, your worth, it comes from in your internal, like internally. That's where your worth comes from. So if you are putting your worth into these things, then you really need to maybe go to therapy, really, really dig deep, right? Because we do grow up, and that I am happy that Chad called him out, because we need people to put us onto game. We need people to call us out. We need people to check us, and we need people in our own community to do that.
I think also, Doc and Keisha, I think also too, the sad thing about that, and what makes it sad, is earlier you brought up there's 200 rappers that have died this year, and part of that is because of the lyrics and what they talk about in their music, and in the real street beefs and street gangs and stuff that they're in. Another part of that is because they're flaunting this money, they're flaunting this wealth, they're flaunting all these things, and people want to take that. There's a lot of bad people in this world, and there's some people that want to take what you have, and so they see you with this money, they see you with this thing, and they sit up there and they may be envious, they may be jealous. It's like, man, why don't I have that? Why don't I? Well, damn it, I can't sing a song like you or write a bar like you, so I'll just go take yours. Because I know you have it. Like, there might be 100 people on my block with $1 million, and I'm not worried about them because I don't know what they have. But I know you have it because I see it on your Instagram every single day. I see it on your social medias every single day. You keep letting me know and keep challenging me. Come take it if you want to. A lot of them have like this big bravado, like, come take it if you want to, blah, 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 guns, all this stuff in their videos, and then I go out and I'm gonna flex these $300,000 earrings, and so somebody might test your gangster and really might try to take your stuff from you, and that all of that breeds just jealousy and negativity and envious, and those bad people in the world will really come and sometimes ruin your life or ruin the lives or take your life, and that's the sad thing as well.
And Jeff, just to add to that, my mother always said a bullet don't have no name.
Not at all.
You can say like, oh, come get it if you want to, and they're gonna come get it. They definitely are.
Yeah. It's and it's kind of crazy, that culture is there, and these crazy things are happening, and nobody's really talking about it. When a black man gets killed by a cop, everybody talks about it.
Yeah.
Black man, Ahmaud Arbery gets killed by a white man. Everybody talks about it.
Well, Doc, it's because there's no money in that. See, the money is in what they're talking about. Because see, when Young Dolph dies, or name your favorite rapper who's died tragically or whatever, their money was in their lyrics promoting and pushing whatever they were promoting and pushing, whether it was drugs, violence, women, flamboyant, all of that stuff. That's where the money was. But see, the money for some of these social justice politics or whatever, there's no money in going to represent or finding the killers of Young Dolph. There's no money in going to represent and finding the killers of, so and so was killed by a black man, right? So there's no money in that. But the money is in, for Black Lives Matter movements and whoever is in, going to do all these marches or whatever for when these people are killed by white police, which happens very rare, as opposed to these black men who are killed by black men. There's no money in that. That's why it's not promoted the same way.
It's almost like if I was to say, if that guy down the street beats my sister's ass, then I'm gonna be angry. But because beating my sister's ass is my job, right? It's like a crazy mindset, right? But seriously, like if a white person or a cop kills a black person, it's outrage everywhere. But if a black person gets killed by another black person, there is no conversation that is sanctioned, right? Because we lean too much, because we are white supremacists. We lean to white people to tell us what conversations are appropriate. And I personally think if you ain't talking about, for example, this single mother of 6 who was just murdered 2 days ago in Chicago, a week after her son was killed on the same block, then you ain't really, the Black Lives Matter is not a term. Those words should never come out of your mouth.
You have more people upset about, and rightfully so in some cases, but more black people upset about Kyle Rittenhouse, who, no offense, but he killed white people, than these black people that are dying every single day at the hands of their own people. To me, that makes no sense. Like, how can we be so upset and shed so many tears and do all these things about a Kyle Rittenhouse? I'm not telling you can't do that. Like, if you're upset about it, be upset. I don't think you should be, but be upset. But you should be just as upset, if not more angry, that your own people are dying at the hands of your own people, as opposed to, these white people that died at the hands of another white man. That's just my kind of theory on that.
And then I also ask, not that I want anyone to kill anyone, but why are we killing each other and we're not killing people in the other communities? And like I said, I don't want us to kill anybody, but we don't value our own lives. So we will kill each other first before we go out and retaliate against the white community.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I think because it is kind of interesting that we, it's almost like we hate ourselves as much as other people hate us. In fact, I really think that all of us kind of need our heads examined, because a lot of stuff we do is just ass backward. It doesn't make any sense. Well, everybody who just came in, I'm speaking with Jeff Lightsey Jr. and Keisha Ravenel. Keisha Ravenel's from the We Inspire brand. Jeff Lightsey Jr. is from Ball Sports. And we're talking about this interesting thing between Chad Ochocinco and YK Osiris, where this young artist gets a $300,000 pair of earrings, puts it on Instagram. And Chad Ochocinco, who's the OG, the NFL veteran, decides to go to Claire's and buy a $10 pair of earrings and show him up. And this led to YK Osiris responding to Chad Ochocinco. And I'm gonna try to see if I can play his video. If I can find, actually, you know what? I'm gonna try to find it on YouTube and play it. But here's what I'm gonna tell you. I watched it, right, and I was real curious to pick up on the energy of it, because when the benefit of being 50 is that I've been in both guys' situations, right? I have been the young guy who's pissed off at the old guy, and I've been the older guy where the younger person was pissed off at you, right? Tyler, the Creator, has been angry at me for 6 years. He literally, every time I think it's over, he comes out and he just does something weird. Like, he just randomly, like on the Kanye West album, literally at the end of the song, somebody called me and he said, at the end, he was on Kanye's album, and at the end, he just screams out, "Boyce Watkins is a bitch." And I'm like, 5 years later, like, dude, why? I'm so irrelevant. Like, what is this? So he's still mad, and I remember going through the interesting thing that happened. One day I'll tell you all the story. It's not worth repeating right now, but you can Google it. And the thing to me was that I said, you know what? He was 22, 23 at the time. I said, I'm not going to argue with you. I said, look, man, if you want to understand what I said and why I did what I did, call me on the phone. Right, I had people that were connected. Chuck Creekman, All Hip Hop, said, "Yeah, Tyler the Creator wants to talk to you." I said, "Yes, tell him to call me because he needs a father. He does not have a father." I knew he didn't have a dad, and then I listened to his music carefully. See, I like to get scientific with it. I listened to his music because I wanted to understand him. I wanted to understand his point of view, and I heard in the lyrics the pain of a boy who did not have a father. And what I have found consistently is that young men who are not accustomed to male mentorship or masculine leadership have a very negative reaction when they bump heads with an older man. It just happens. That's why a lot of guys get shot by the cops, because they think they can just run up on that cop and run in their mouth and everything else. Next thing you know, you find out he's got a bigger gun, he's got a billy club, the law's on his side, right? And so I really think that in general, you know, I always hope that the conversations can happen in a certain way. And I'm glad Chad Ochocinco didn't respond at all. I think that's great. I'm also glad that that YK Osiris, actually, I watched this video and I said, this guy is not being nearly as disrespectful as I thought he might be. Mm-hmm. You know, he was just kind of like, look, you know, hey, you bought the $10 earrings at Claire's. I'm happy for you. You know, he said, man, you could have hit me up in my DM. You could have, you know, you didn't have to tell, you know, you trying to tell another man how to spend his money. Like, he made his point, but he did not do it disrespectfully. And I thought that was actually beautiful to watch. Because let me tell you, if y'all want to see an interesting beef between young and old, and I love watching these dynamics take place, go back. Does anybody in the chat remember when Ice-T got into it with Soulja Boy? You remember that? Y'all probably know it was 13 years ago. Google that. I want you to Google it, because basically what happened was Ice-T did what a lot of older rappers do, right? They see the younger artists coming along. Maybe they're upset because the young guys getting attention that they used to have, so they start hating. You know, and Ice-T was like,
he was hating. He was definitely hating. He was hating back then.
Bullshit.
Yeah, he called him out his name. Yeah, you hate when you start calling folks out of their name. You are hating for sure.
Yeah, he said Soulja Boy can eat a.
Yeah,
y'all can use your imagination. And I'm gonna tell you what, Soulja Boy lit him up. Like, I mean, he did a whole cartoon, a really funny cartoon. Like, he really dehumanized Ice-T. I'm just gonna tell you, I was like, whoa, he's really drilling him. And but here's the thing, right? So when you listen further, what you really also heard from Soulja Boy was, he was like, why don't you come to me as a mentor? Why couldn't you have just given me advice? Like, why do you have to attack me? And I listened to it, I said, man, that was such a profound thing to say. So what do you all think about that? I mean, how do you think that you can have the intergenerational transfer of knowledge, which is absolutely necessary for a community to thrive, right? It would be ridiculous for an older person to watch a younger person do the same dumb shit they might have done 20 years ago and say nothing because, well, I don't want to be hating, so I'm going to be quiet. You ain't supposed to be quiet. You're supposed to say something, right?
Yeah.
But then people get offended and their feelings get hurt. So I'll start with you, Keisha, and then you, Jeff. How do you have that conversation in a healthy way? I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, one, the person has to be willing to receive as well. So it's not just on the person that is talking. So like, let's use Ochocinco and YK Osiris. It's not just Ochocinco. YK Osiris, he needs to know how to receive it, because you can come to someone as respectfully as you want to come to them, but if they're not ready to receive what you're saying, then it's not going to be received. So I think that's important as well. But I think that Ochocinco could have hit up YK Osiris in a DM, but then I think Jeff said he probably doesn't even know who he is, right? But I think it's important for us to reach out to each other. Even if we joke around and we, you know, clown each other on social media publicly, we should be hitting each other up privately saying, hey, you know, I know we're joking and it's all in fun, but I really want you to be smart with your money, because I did something stupid with my money when I was your age, or this is how I handle my money. Here's a financial advisor. Here's a tax advisor. Here are these things for you to be successful. Now it's up to the mentee to take it or leave it.
Interesting. Okay. Jeff, what do you think? I mean, how do you feel? Like, what, you know, you and I could be, we could role play, right? I could be Ochocinco and you could be YK Osiris, right? You know, and so what if you did something, man, that you really were proud of, right? And I just called you up and I was like, man, that was some bullshit. What was Jeff doing? He's a damn fool. He acting a fool out here. What do you think would be the best way for me to reach out and support you, or make you receive, or have you, or convince you to receive what I have to say?
I think a private conversation would definitely be the best, route, the best option. I think in hip hop specifically, though, it, the rappers in the industry and the culture of hip hop, it has gotten to the point to where it's very hard to do some of these things. Now we see Jay-Z is often referred to as like the big homie and all these kind of things, but if you guys don't know, these record labels, they pit the artists against each other. So at times you see these beefs that are formulated and created by the labels, by social media. The labels will pay these blogs to put out certain posts and to make certain things and to blow things up so that they could try to sell records or sell a brand or sell whatever. So, and a lot of times, because hip hop is such a competitive space and the labels are pushing these beefs, it's really hard in a lot of instances for these guys to come together unless it's a Jay-Z, unless it's a P. Diddy. You got to be, the top dog. But outside of that, a lot of times they're pitting these guys against each other. They're paying the Shade Room, the Say Cheeses, the Hollywood Unlocks, and all these different blog sites to amplify these beefs. And it's hard for them to sometimes have the proper mentorship. A lot of them, like a whole lot of them, actually need.
Everybody who just came in, I'm speaking with Keisha Ravenel, CEO and founder of the We Inspire brand, and Jeff Licey Jr. from Ball Sports. And we are talking about Chad Ochocinco and a singer named YK Osiris. And just generally, we started off talking about YK Osiris flaunting his $300,000 earrings, and Chad Ochocinco's response where he bought some $10 earrings, and it was actually, I thought it was quite funny. But then I think to make this conversation more applicable to all of us, the goal was to take it to in a direction where we can kind of learn from this and grow from this, because what we're dealing with, I think, I'll say this, and I'll let the panelists get their last words and their closing thoughts, is I really think that you have a few issues you have to confront in the culture. When you're talking about just this idea that you're showing off by wasting money, that's just crazy. I just jokingly said, today I was saying to somebody, I said, my two daughters are, most beautiful girls in the world, as pretty as their mama. When they go places, I see all the boys looking at them. And I swear to God, if my daughter brought home a guy who was on Instagram flossing and bragging about the fact that he just spent $325,000 on some earrings, I literally would instantly issue my denial. Like I would stamp the paper. Like I disapprove of this man. You can date who you want, but he is not approved, because this idea that you are showing off by throwing money away, that's stupid enough. But what's even more stupid is the fact that some people might find that actually appealing and attractive, right? And I would just say to anybody, male or female, if you're attracted to people that have money, they shouldn't be able to impress you by showing you how much money they're throwing away. One of the rules of getting rich is keep your damn money, right? Like that's what rich people do. That's why they're rich, right? Poor people throw their money away. And a lot of times you'll see poor people pretending to be rich, but then really rich people pretend to be somewhat poor. Like if you go hang out with Mark Zuckerberg, kicking it with Bill Gates and Elon Musk, they'll be wearing clothes, jeans with holes in it, regular like $10 shirts that you could buy at Walmart. Like there's nothing there. There's no need to show how much wealth they have. They're not going and wasting money on Gucci belts and all this stuff. They might be talking about some $1 billion investments now, but they're not going to be talking about, some consumer items that they bought, right? Because that excessive consumerism is incredibly harmful to you economically. And you have to put that in the context of Black people being the engine of American prosperity. Like they've used us. They milk us like cows. They pull the others. Like how much money can we get out of Negroes? Let's throw 2 rappers out there, make them beef on Shade Room. So people get emotionally caught up in it. And then they're going to want to go and buy stuff because they're emotionally caught up in this. And it's all a game. They're playing with you, So Keisha, what are your closing thoughts on this in terms of what we can kind of learn and how we can just become better people from there? I need you to help me figure out how we just spent this last 34 minutes and 26 seconds talking about 2 Negroes that don't even matter in our personal lives. Why was this conversation worthwhile?
So I have a few thoughts. The key is to be rich, not to just look like you're rich. That's the key. And I think that a lot of these rappers and even aspiring rappers, entertainers, and aspiring people that want to accumulate wealth, they don't understand that. They think that being wealthy is being able to go out there and spend money on whatever they want. And YK Osiris, he did mention, he said, spend your money on whatever you want. It's your life, it's your money. And I do get that. And I do agree with that. You're supposed to do what you want with your money, your life. However, if you are aspiring to be wealthy, aspiring to be rich and have a lot of money, then you need to educate yourself on how to get there. And it's not by spending all of your money on chains and earrings and all of these materialistic things. So I saw a post and it talked about Jay-Z. It talked about Jay-Z when he first came out, and he had like all of these like gold chains, and like he was looking like he had all this money. And then Jay-Z now is a billionaire, and he just had like a regular t-shirt on, right? So like I said, the key is to actually be rich, to actually be wealthy, to actually build legacy for the next generation, and not to just look like you're doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. That's excellent point. So, Jeff, your closing thoughts.
My,
help us all become better people. Be wise.
Okay. Well, my thing is first of all, when it comes to like the hip hop community, rappers or whoever, you know, flexing, showing off, all that stuff, they tell you that that's a part of your culture. They tell you that's what you're supposed to do and all that. That stuff ain't a part of your culture. Going out, having a bunch of baby mamas, having a bunch of money, showing it off, and then losing it, and then or not being able to see the light of day after, you know, not growing old with your money. None of that is a part of your culture. That's part of the nigga culture that they trained to you and indoctrinated in you and kind of convinced you and sewn it into you that that's a part of your culture. None of that is. I promise you it's not. Back in, you know, when we were in Egypt, over in Africa, we weren't doing that kind of stuff. That's first of all. Second of all, because those things put an unnecessary target on your back. And just because you have $325,000 now, will you have $325,000 when you're 40 or 50? Or will you be able to live to see when you're 40 or 50? Because there's a bunch of rappers that had a whole bunch of money in their 20s, had a whole bunch of money in their late 20s, early 20s, maybe early 30s. But then by the time they were 40 or 50, all their money was gone. Or maybe they weren't even here to see that day, right? So that's why you have to get out of that nigga culture, because that nigga culture is what leads to your demise. Whether it's having a bunch of baby mamas, whether it's being in a bunch of debt, whether it's not being alive at age 50 to see the end. So that is why we have to drift away from the nigga culture and really get into what our culture and building ourselves and building generational wealth and being able to not just have $325,000 to spend on earrings when you're 22, but having $3.2 million when you're 50 or 60 to pass to your children and grandchildren. That way they never have to worry about it. Because too many times we've seen rappers and entertainers have all this money in their early 20s and not be able to pass that down to their children. And some of them aren't even here to see their children at their 50th birthday. So that's my final thoughts on that.
Whew, that was a great final thought. And I think, you know, when you're really talking about culture, one of the things I want everybody to really understand, and we've addressed this a little bit, is that when you talk about wealth, you cannot grow Black wealth without also monitoring Black culture and what we define as Black culture. So I would say that maybe one of the things that we could start doing, generally speaking, since we're all intelligent Black people here, is really reject anything that's labeled Black culture that involves excessive irresponsibility in really any key area. When you talk about family, like there's nothing in Black culture that says you ain't supposed to be a great father to your kids. I think we're confronting that, right? There's nothing in Black culture that says you're supposed to want to be ignorant. You actually want to be smart. There's nothing in Black culture that says you should want to stay high on dope and drink all the time and all this other stuff that's promoted in the music, right? They're promoting the music to make sure the Black man is never alert, that he's never able to really conquer anything. Nobody's afraid of an alcoholic. Nobody's afraid of a dope addict. No, a dope addict doesn't compete with you, right? They're too busy getting high. And then I think lastly on this part of financial responsibility, I think that it's a YK Osiris's situation kind of runs against the backdrop of a shifting culture on when it comes to the power of building Black wealth. And so what I would say is that because I watched this video and I did not see this guy as an idiot, and he actually went out of his way. He said, "I'm not dumb." And that to me says that he doesn't want to be stupid. He wants to be intelligent, right? So when I talk about this space being for intelligent Black people, I would actually invite a YK Osiris into the conversation, because it's not about where you are, it's about where you're trying to go, right? Because in fact, I would rather hang around a quote unquote ignorant person who wants to be smart than a smart person who wants to be ignorant. Because you got a lot of that. You have a lot of people in hip hop. You have some flat out geniuses where you'll read their bio and they'll be like, oh, he graduated from such and such with a 4.0 grade point average. But then when you listen to what they're promoting nothing but complete ignorance. Like, I was blown away by that. I remember one of the times I went on the Breakfast Club, I remember that somebody told me that the day before I went in there, that one rapper, remember that rapper, what's his face? It had all the ugly gold teeth in his mouth, and he gold all in my chain.
Trinidad James.
Yeah, they were like Trinidad James was here yesterday, Doc. And I said, man, I'm so glad I didn't walk in the same time as him, because I wouldn't have wanted to sit in the same room with this son of a bitch, because that video just pissed me off. It was just so ignorant. And so somebody's like, no, Doc, he's really smart. He's not ignorant like the video. He's really smart. I said, that pisses me off even more.
Mm-hmm.
Why, if you're smart, why are you hiding your intelligence to fit in? Stop that. You know, and so I think what I like about both of you, you know, is that, you know, I think that it takes a type of courage, a type of energy to say, I'm not trying to fit into the culture. The culture is going to have to fit into me. My environment, my surroundings are going to have to fit into me, because I'm going to have the conviction to say, this is who I want to be. This is what I believe in. And y'all can either get in or get out. It's totally fine. But I'm not going to reduce myself to make ignorant people feel comfortable, to make lazy people feel comfortable, to make destructive people feel comfortable. You should never do that. You should never validate ignorance. And maybe I'm a little biased on that, because I do remember one time when I was younger and I got checked by my father one time. I don't talk about this much, but this was many years ago. I was on a TV show. It was an ESPN show. Quite frankly, with Stephen A. Smith. Jeff, remember that show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that show.
I don't know if you remember that show, Keisha.
Yeah. I know Stephen A. Smith, but I don't remember.
Yeah. I was on the show, and I was on there with a rapper, and we got to just joking and laughing about something, and he said something real ignorant. I just kind of laughed it off. And my father did call me. He said, don't you ever validate ignorance. He said, never go along with ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I because I thought that he was, you know, I was like, hey, did you see the show? Did you like it?
Yeah.
He's like, no. He's like, you did not represent yourself well. You didn't represent the family the right way. You didn't represent yourself properly as a Black man. And so I would encourage everybody in here, don't validate the ignorance. You know, you can forgive them. You don't have to hate everybody and be mad at people. But Black people get harmed. We get exploited. We get damaged. We get destroyed. They have genocide plans for you built around the assumption that you're going to want to remain ignorant, and you're going to gravitate toward ignorance. So let's not do that. Let's be smart. All right. Let's be strong. Let's be great, because that's what we're meant to be. All right. So I want to say thank you very much to my guest, Keisha Ravenel from the We Inspire brand. I hope you will follow Keisha at We Inspire brand. Please follow her. Her brand is extraordinary. She's super smart, and she coaches and shows people all kinds of cool stuff about how to get their business moving. And also Jeff Lightsey Jr. at theblackbosschannel.com. So if you check out Jeff, he's live every single day.
Every day. We have some really dope guests coming on, really dope guests in the works, really dope guests have already been on. Just go check it out. It's really cool.
Yes. So everybody, please follow these two the two guests for today. And also my website is boycewatkins.com, so feel free to go to boycewatkins.com. I wanted to mention to you guys, our Black Wealth calendars are out for 2022, so if you are interested in the Black Wealth calendar, you can go to boycewatkins.com. Also, we're going to start the book club in about 45 minutes from now if you're watching this live. So at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we're going to start reading Black Labor, White Wealth by Dr. Claude Anderson, and we're going to interpret this book and break it down so we can understand how much money white people owe us. So God bless everybody. We love you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Please hit the thumbs up button on your way out, and we are gone. Take care. Peace.